Hey everybody, it's Stuart once again. I've been covering quite a fair bit of content that caters to entrepreneurs and thinkers, people who really want to move the needle in their lives. So as I was going through the start of 2023, I figured that it was important for me to give you some ideas related to how to build not just influential relationships, but better intimate relationships. Now, I know I'm not going to be the first person to claim I've got a perfect relationship myself, but I'm so glad that I have my partner with me right now, and it is really a blessing to be able to have somebody to stand by you in tough times. Now, one of the problems is that whether co-founders who have a relationship going on to lead an organization, or whether it's an intimate relationship, we tend to have four things that almost automatically destroy that. And this comes from the research from John Gottman, who talks about what he terms the four horsemen of the apocalypse. Number one, criticism. So the moment you and your co-founder or you and your intimate partner go into a back-to-back criticism of each other, oh, you did this, or how about you? You also did that. The moment you have this level of criticism, a lot of negativity begins to sprout, and all you're doing is you're latching yourself into that mode of being critical and only looking out for the negativities in others. This is something, if you notice is happening, needs to be removed from your conversations. Number two, contempt. With criticism, it's more likely to reach to a level of contempt where anything that the other party says is just bashed down by taking it very personally. Oh, there you go again. Things like that will cause contempt for each other. So if you're in a co-founding relationship in a business, you're likely to have to observe what happens in a conversation. If it starts to get very emotional, it's necessary for you to take some time out. In an interpersonal relationship, in an intimate relationship, removing contempt from the equation by promising never to ever have a personal attack with your significant other is going to be substantial. Number three, defensiveness. Now, defensiveness is common. You try to defend your point rather than being open, vulnerable, and accepting what you're hearing. This is also difficult for me because whenever somebody raises some kind of feedback, whether it's in a business relationship or in an intimate relationship, I have to brace myself. I do have to prepare myself whenever I'm receiving feedback, and as I'm sitting down and listening to it, and also to accept that this is valuable to the person speaking to me, and it may be something that I need to take action on in various different ways in order to cater to the other person. The last one is stonewalling. This is where contempt rises through the roof, and then there's nothing more that you have to say to each other, and as a result, you walk away. And sometimes this walking away is deemed as a very, very negative thing. I know stonewalling by saying certain things and the other party not responding is not necessarily a very helpful thing. If you're interpreting silence as stonewalling though, be careful, because that can lead to criticism and contempt. If you give the other party some space to drop their wall, especially if you know that they're considering different angles, they don't really feel safe talking about things, and they find it very hard to express themselves, then you may need to give them a little bit of time on their own, only to agree when would be the best time for you to start the conversation. Herein lies 5 key skills that you need in order to take your relationship to the next level in 2023. Number one, communication skills. Now, I'm not just talking about any communication skill. I'm talking about the communication skills required for emotional conversations. It requires you to be able to listen effectively so that you'll be able to understand their mental models of the world and ask questions to inquire about any assumptions or any other unknown variables in that communication. In neuro-linguistic programming, we have a communication map where whatever it is that we're speaking actually doesn't come from objective reality, but subjective reality. Likewise, whatever is being spoken to us comes through our 5 senses, and we have a tendency to filter out whatever arrives at us from a very personal standpoint. So rather than just simply taking it personally, recognize that it might be personal to you, but it may not mean the same thing as it does to you as it is to the other person. So always take the time to ask clarifying questions. This way, you get to a higher level of precision and resolution in your communication. Number two, holding the space for emotions. Now, I've spoken about holding the space at length, but what this means is that being comfortable with other people's emotions, especially outbursts, is necessary because you can't have 2 people having outbursts at the same time. Sometimes whenever somebody speaks, you just need to ground yourself and listen and hold the space as if this is a vulnerable moment, that this person could be attacked from any angle. And all you're doing is protecting that person and protecting that space so that ventilation can take place. Very often, phrases that acknowledge the emotion are necessary because this allows other people to feel understood. When you're able to do this without any judgment, this is where the other person is likely to de-escalate their communication and allow themselves to have at least a taste of what it's like to talk through things. Now, as I've mentioned in many of my videos before, sometimes the first time you're trying to express an emotion is the first time you've ever done so. And in order for you to be able to express your emotions more effectively, you need to be able to talk about it again and again and again so that it becomes a part of you. It becomes natural. Number 3, conflict resolution. Now, I know conflict resolution sounds like a term that you use in, let's say, employee relations. That's not exactly what I'm talking about. Conflict resolution here really refers to your observation of any escalation in communication. When one party says something, the other party is likely to say something back. This is the natural state of things. However, you have to be able to observe the conversation. Who starts to escalate first? So I might say good morning, the other person might go like, huh, what's so good about the morning? And that might actually escalate everything. So depending on how you interpret tone of voice and how you interpret facial expressions and body language and so on, all the intent might be viewed as negative, whereas it may have just been a natural way of expressing things given an underlying emotion. So sometimes conflict resolution is first being able to calibrate to and observing the conflict before it starts to escalate. When you observe the escalation, you do everything within your power to de-escalate by sitting down, holding the space for that emotion, and being clear that it's necessary for you to listen, observe, and be as best a listener to summarize what's going on, utilizing all your active listening skills. Most of the time, conflict resolution is done best when you're well-grounded emotionally. Don't forget, that can be a powerful 4th strategy or skill, which is to get yourself emotionally grounded before you start to talk to anyone who has an emotion. So how do you do that? Simply, from head to toe, imagine a light beam going down and allowing every single muscle in your body to get relaxed. This is known as the light stream technique, and it probably takes you about 4 to 5 minutes at one go. All you need to do is focus on your breathing and notice the light descending through every single part of your body and allowing those muscles to relax, soften, and get centered. Now, how do you know you're centered? When you stand, you are symmetrical, and this allows you to feel a little bit more grounded and at peace. Now, imagine you went into an angry conversation feeling anxious yourself. You're more likely to escalate. But if you went into an angry conversation feeling confident and grounded, you're more likely to help de-escalate that conversation. Number 5, which is the be-all and end-all of all relationships, is trust. If you want to establish a foundation of trust, you need to be vulnerable. You need to take the courage to share certain insecurities and allow the other person to react to you sometimes. I've had situations where I've spoken to some of my friends, and whenever I share something emotional, they take it personally, right? As if I'm attacking them. But in reality, knowing that this might happen simply allows me to be present for the other person who's reacting against that emotion, and also listening to them, because it doesn't happen out of the blue. It happens because somewhere along the line, I found a splinter and I've moved that. And it means that only hurt people will hurt people. Through the communication observation process, you get a chance to kind of audit that entire interaction from a third-party observer standpoint, and this way it will become so much easier for you to enter into abrasive kinds of conversations so that you can de-escalate the situation and bring everything to a peaceful conclusion. Now, there's a caveat. These communication skills can only work for someone who has the intention to want to hold a conversation with you. If they're just breaking away, it's impossible for you to hold them back and expect that they will want to have a conversation with you in the first place. So one of the things about communication, and this is a bonus skill set that you need to have, is patience. Sometimes it's necessary for you to stop thinking about yourself and how uncomfortable you feel when a person walks away, compared with saying, okay, he or she just needs some time to mull it through, and all you need to do is give them that time and space. Sometimes it takes a day, sometimes it takes more, and sometimes it takes almost forever in your mind. Invite them to have that conversation with you at an appropriate time and keep your doors open. Whatever the case, these skills are likely to take you off in a new trajectory in any of your relationships as long as you're aware to avoid the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse and to lean towards these skills that can elevate your relationships wherever you go. If you like this video, please hit the like and the subscribe button so that we can reach out to more people on YouTube to share these nuggets of wisdom. This way, we can help to elevate society collectively to a level that transcends pain and suffering, and also help people, including yourself, to take actions to abundance. Till the next video, I'll see you.